All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. We're back in session. Finish up our discussion on fireworks and the parade. Anything else, Mr. Wyatt?
No, sir, just in reference to the discussion about the cars, the way I understand it now, for clarification, is even though certain events and, for example, just hypothetically, may say outdoor events are limited to 100 people. For example, the way I understand and speaking with the legislature is if it's an outdoor venue such as the fairgrounds, if we were to use that, then you could, with spacing, say it's 100 vehicles, and the people inside those vehicles would not be counted separately, to where you could park 100 vehicles with spacing in between, so it would be 100 vehicles, not just 100 people in the cars. That is from Jeff McNeely, and speaking with him directly. And that comes from, if a family wanted to have 8 people in a vehicle, fine, but it would be 100 vehicles spaced out. And we would, of course, have that in writing to clarify if we are under those rules. To answer that question that was asked of me previous, how would that work? It would still be appropriate spacing of vehicles, and never how many people's inside that vehicle. We would just simply have notice that people are to stay inside their vehicles. And of course, typically, in years past, the fireworks are somewhere that 9:30 p.m. time and hours of darkness that they're out there, that is before they're fired. So we would count the vehicles and have the appropriate spacing with volunteers, and have them to park that way. That's how we would try to get that accommodated to accomplish whatever numbers are in place at that time.
What normally do we have at the fireworks?
Say that again?
What normal number of people are at the fireworks down there?
A lot.
5,000.
It's
5,000
Okay, that's what I was.
at least.
Can't move.
And that's just the estimate, because this part, they'll cover cats, they'll cover all
That's what I
of
was saying,
this
a lot
long
of
road,
people-
they'll cover this road, they'll cover food line, they'll cover everywhere you got a party place. The only problem is you don't want them inside that perimeter of the fairgrounds, at least back 100 feet away from the fence.
So it's a lot of-
The EMS building back, because fireworks won't have it, the fire marshal won't allow it. So you'll be what we call on-grid properties, where they, I guess that's where they're gonna shoot them, right?
So there's a good chance that there's not gonna be lifted allowed that many people. That's not gonna happen between now and then. The state's not gonna change that quick. That's
Well,
5,000 people.
It'd be hard for them to monitor, wouldn't it?
But,
Well, they could, based off of how many people's getting shots and the percentages. It very well could.
but we
just
have to
can't.
commit real soon to the person with the fireworks. So
Yes, sir.
my question I was leading up to is asking is, why not instead of having the fireworks this year, have an event in the park that with a band or some music?
Well, the same thing, and I'm not discouraging what your suggestion is. We would still kind of be under the same restrictions as to how many people we could have, and be under the same hurdles of what we could have and how many people we could have there. I definitely, as far as what the staff, the challenges and the hurdles that the staff faces, I can say safely, we have a lot less hurdles to face and unknowns to face if we had an event in the park, such as a music act, for example. But the problem there is, again, how do we advertise it? It being April, and how do we advertise it and say, okay, we can only allow this many people, and is it a wise use of money saying that we're going to have a concert, for example, even if it's a volunteer concert, and then only restricting it to a certain amount of people? it's easier for us to do that, mind you, versus, offering to spend $9,500, $10,000 and then not knowing if we're gonna be able to have it as we have in years past.
My only thought was, I was thinking with events in the park, or unlike fireworks, you're not gonna get everybody up coming from everywhere in here, and we really don't have I mean, the whole park's not filled up. Yeah, for events, but whereas the fireworks, it's just droves them in from everywhere. And that was my only thought, is maybe we could do something that was smaller in nature, but would allow people, if they wanted to do something to celebrate that evening, having something there.
You know, not being on the council, but not having this for 2 years, what we normally used to do, we had the parade at 11 o'clock, we're done, we're out there before, then moved into the fairgrounds at 4 o'clock, 5. We had the fairgrounds
That's
full
right.
from 5 until 9 with music on the stage,
Yeah.
vendors and whatnot, then they dropped them down, moved everybody back, and let the cars park on the outside, so then therefore you had your fireworks, everybody was kind of in place, but now that we've not done it, what, 2 years now, I guess? So therefore you're talking,
Well, you know,
it's easy to control them out here, but if you don't have the parade at the fair, and then you tell the county you won't have the fireworks, just make sure we don't step on, make everybody happy there,
you know,
as best you can, Doug.
in the way of, if we do it in the park, everyone's gonna count one person. Small child up to the oldest individual. You do the fireworks in the car, you could have a car, a van, 15 people in it. Use that as an example, that's one person. And we can control spacing. And of course, our area of responsibility is the fairgrounds. As we all know, there are gonna be plenty of people that are gonna be in total perimeter, all the way around. So those people are on their own. It's their responsibility to look after themselves in a safe and healthy manner. Our responsibility is to abide by regulations within the fairgrounds, which we can do as a controlled environment. And again, you can have many more people. You can pack them into cars, if you will, to use this, to be blunt about it, and have many more people than if you're bringing them into the park, where, you know, we do have to limit it, and you've got to count each individual as an individual, and that's going to really restrict it. And you know, I tend to agree with the thinking that, you know, we pay for a concert, we advertise it, we promote it, and many people love, obviously, from the years past of where they come for the parade and come back 6, 7 o'clock in the evening, when the Rotary Club did it for the, I don't know what we called the event at the time, but at any rate, and then that ended, and then you had the fireworks. You know, so it's a very popular thing, and I'd like to see, if we're gonna have it, if we're gonna spend $9,000 of taxpayers' money, I'd like to see as many people come and enjoy it. And I feel like the only way we can do it is to do it as staff has proposed, to control what we can control within the fairgrounds, and then everyone else is on their own in the perimeter. And that's where most people are going to be anyhow. They're going to be in the perimeter. It's not going to be a fairgrounds. So, you know, if we're going to do it, I would just like to, I think, to get the maximum amount, bang for the buck, if you will, for the enjoyment factor, entertainment factor, is to just go ahead and proceed as staff proposed. To me, that's the most logical. Your idea is good, don't misunderstand me. I in no way mean to, I'm just trying to get the
We
maximum.
couldn't have the fireworks.
Yeah.
We had to make a commitment, we can't make it, we don't have enough information, then maybe we could do something less.
Well,
That's the whole
it's a
point.
gamble, yes, it's a gamble, because, you know, obviously things can pick up, and instead of loosening, as the governor's done, he can tighten up. So far, things have been good in this state compared to other states. That could certainly change between now and then, and you're exactly right. And then they could do the same thing for the park. We plan something in the park. If we tightened up restrictions, it could go from, you know, whatever the max is allowed now to something a lot less. And no matter what we do, it could negatively affect us if things turn south. So, but again, I'm just looking at the maximum amount of effect for what we're trying to do is provide entertainment for the greatest number of people inside and outside of town. And I feel if we do it this way as staff's proposed, that's where we get the biggest bang for the buck.
So this may be far-fetched, but going along with what George is saying, is it possible to do the fireworks in the park?
No. Emily and, prior to my arrival, Emily and Kim,
Yeah, she checked all the phones.
They started prior to my arrival, looking at other, places all around the city limits of Troutman, even on the outskirts, of trying to find safe fall zones to where it could be had. There's no other
Okay.
safe fall zones, close or within our city limits that it can be had. This particular property that has been utilized in the years past is the only option. Kim or Emily, either one of y'all wish to expand on what I just said?
From security standpoint, fire marshal standpoint, you can't, because you got fences up there, security, and you gotta have, people have to be spread out, you can't have that many people. Over here, you got too many people, too many houses, and that's the only viable place, as Doug said, that you can have it right now.
I just thought I'd throw that out there.
And I mean, anywhere you have it, you're gonna have the logistics problem.
That's it.
And
The only thing I-
succinctly put it, it's gonna be a security problem, fire marshal problem.
The other thing I think what you said, if you put 17 in the van, they stand in that van with fireworks go off. They're gonna be outside.
I agree with you, George, but it was a great question that you asked that the public needs to hear. Why are we not looking at other places? So it was a great question that you asked. But Councilman Harris is also correct, is no, they're not gonna stay in there, and I wouldn't, I mean, that's just being realistic.
Yeah.
But there again,
It's
at
up to
some-
the man, you can't police all that, I don't think.
Yeah, hold on, Mr. Now.
Yeah, Mr. Gallion raises a good point that I don't know if everybody heard this. Is Ardell, Statesville County Commissioners possibly gonna feel that they have their toes stepped on if we take their fairgrounds for the fireworks and kinda tell them, we don't really want your fairgrounds for the start of the parade? That's something I would take in mind, okay, that Mr. Gallion raised.
And that is a fair point. However, as straightforward as I can be, we're not trying to be offensive or step on anybody's toes. It's a staffing perspective is the reason that we're changing the route, for the parade. It has not anything to do with a facility. It is a staffing perspective, and let's try to keep as many businesses open in town as possible, by changing the route. The Food Line Shopping Center is the major business that is impacted, that whole string of businesses. Also, when we used to fairgrounds, the Cat's Patch and the Dollar Tree business, they were affected, but the Dollar Tree business did not exist. Now it exists, to whereas if we used the fairgrounds, we would, in a sense, shut their business down. So by us rerouting what we're using now, we're allowing those businesses to continue to operation at their normal hours. So it's not, just for the record, and it's great points to make, but we're doing it to try to be respectful of our tax-paying business owners and for no other purpose other than that. And staffing, as we talk to our interim police chief, for resources for the town also.
Well, maybe we can make it known, though, that we don't feel like we're slighting them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We're definitely not in a slighting business here. It's,
I understand what Mr. Gallion is saying. We're good enough to ask for the fireworks, but, we're not, or we don't want it to do with you, was correct.
yes, sir. And I apologize if I didn't make that more clear earlier. The reason that we're doing a change of venue is for the tax-paying business owners and for also staff resources, and it's the economics that comes out in that. And I apologize if I didn't make that more clear.
Traffic flow as well.
Absolutely.
The largest intersection being closed down, and it takes an additional 6 officers to close that intersection, because he has to close all the way up Old Mountain to Berrien Lane.
Thank you for pointing that out, but East Mambo, Old Mountain Road, Berrien Lane, on both ends, it is one of the busiest intersections in Iredell County with that stoplight, our second stoplight. And thank you very much for pointing that out, Emily. I failed to point that out as well.
And I was gonna say, people have got to take responsibility for themselves at some point. We can do all we can do. If we show, if this as a town, we conduct this event in a reasonable, safe manner, and people don't follow what we've asked them, instructed them to do through signage and our advertisement, Facebook, otherwise, social media, that's all we can do. If we're gonna have the event, we're gonna have to understand that people are not all people are gonna abide by the rules. You've got situation with the masks all over the country. And that's just an example that the people, some are gonna abide by the rules, some are not. All we can do is if we decide to have the event, is to put it out there, what we are asking them to do, to be safe and be healthy and not expose other people as well as themselves. And if they don't abide, obviously, we'll have staff to coach them, but if people refuse, or it's overwhelming, if, you know, the fans start just willy-nilly unloading when the fireworks go off, you don't have the staff to sit there and run all over the place trying to get people back in the van. Again, point being, people have got to be responsible. Parents have to be responsible for children. Adults have to be responsible for themselves. There's just so much we can do. So I don't know how else to put it. I would love to see this event take place. We didn't do it last year. It's a great event, and I would hate if we are not able to do it this year. But all we can do is, again, to put the information out there, what we expect people to do, how to act, especially around, you know, the zone that we have influence, which is the fairgrounds. And if they don't, then, you know, that's up to them. It's not the towns. It's not the town, it's on the town.
Gary, you want to make a comment?
One thing, I don't know whether, there's been discussion about this or not, but, and I don't know what the payment structure is, but consideration would be also in the contract with the fireworks person to be able to cancel if there are executive orders that do hinder this kind of an event. And you may also say, we don't care, we'll have the event anyway, and people can sit at their houses and get the fireworks. But, and if you have to pay it all up front, I don't know, so it really depends on all that. There's some kind of clause that within 30 days or something like that, you can cancel with, for instance, executive orders to prevent this kind of an event. The only reason I think about that is because France is shutting down right now for 4 weeks.
Yeah. Other thoughts or comments?
That was in place last year. I don't know that it would be any different going forward once we do discussion, just FYI, but we'll confirm that.
On the contract?
Yes, sir.
All right. If no further discussion, is there a motion to give staff, working with Mr. Gallion and the parade committee, the authority to move forward with our parade and fireworks?
I so moved, Mr. Mayor.
Motion is on the floor to move forward with the parade and fireworks on July 3rd. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made, received a second. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes.
One question, you will come down the Old Murdoch, and then hit the Main Street and go from there? You're not gonna come down each way, you're gonna go on that main road?
For this particular parade, yes, sir. We would come down, and we're in the process of getting the permission from the state for US 21. We need permission from them to do that.
All right. Next item on the agenda is the overview of the upcoming regular March 11th meeting. Mr. Wyatt.
The one thing that we have there, everything is before you as we have discussed, as you have it in your packet. Everything is as is standard. We have Mr. Frank Burgess here for you all to meet this evening. We'll be going as an appointee for the board. Frank, if you would stand up and introduce yourself, please.
My name is Frank Burgess. I know most of you in the room, and so, try to talk to all of you when I can, and I feel it's a pleasure to be part of it, and I would look forward to working with each and every one of you. I come from the automotive industry, 38 years. I ran dealerships for over 28 years, and I believe if we're not growing, you're dying. okay? And I think growth is essential as long as it's in the right way. You know what I'm saying? So, I'd love to be part of your team.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions of Frank? He will be filling the position of Lori Eberly as an inside alternate for the Board of Adjustments.
Frank, did they share with you the pay? Did they share with you the pay?
It's a
I didn't
Board of
hear.
Adjustments.
Did they tell you about-
Planning and
I'm
zoning.
No, they did not.
Okay, all right.
Planning and zoning.
I'm sorry, Planning and Zoning Board. The pay, we're gonna double yours, being you live so close to town.
I see. You're right.
He's
Double
doing West
time on
Virginia, but he
Sunday.
knows what that means.
Okay, I
Frank,
just,
make sure you read the fine print.
yeah.
I understand that real well.
Frank, let him know you're a good old West Virginia boy, you understand exactly what that means. St. Albans, West Virginia.
Also, the other appointments, Karen Van Fleet as an in-town board, reappointment is Kenneth Reed to the same board. Lori Eberly will then go to fill the unexpired term of Ray Walsh, and that's why Frank is allowed to go to hers. And they're nominating Mark Taylor as the ETJ member, and he will go before the Iredell County Board of Commissioners. And those are for, like I said, stood corrected for the planning and zoning.
Isn't Mark Taylor a renomination too?
Yes. He is, yes.
I didn't think of that.
Also, you all will have selection for your Troutman Citizen of the Year and the Organization of the Year. You'll get reports from the library and from the fire department this week as well. One of the things that come up from staff, as you all have noticed, ever since the COVID thing started, and I would like some direction from you all, we have, several staff members have tried, and we have had several different experts here to try to make sure that we continue to do things as much as we can to be, to run things through YouTube and make sure our meetings are there. But there continues to be things out of our control that we just can't. It seems like every time we find one issue, there's another one that pops up on, whether it be the internet or whether it be ghosts in the ceilings. We keep finding firewall things that's there. We still have IT folks that are coming to work on a regular basis here. But with the rules changing, as far as the meeting protocol, do you all wish to continue streaming these meetings or go back to standard meetings?
Thoughts from council?
We can, how many people we have here?
We by state, first of all, by state mandate, we could have already went back to standard meetings. We just continued out of safety protocols, but now that they have opened up to even 16-year-olds can go and get shots if they so presume, to me it was a good time to bring it back to you all to say, what is you all's pleasure as far as opening it back up? Town Hall has been opened up for business for about 6 weeks now, still requiring masks that our visitors come in, and we would still go through protocols that is recommended by our visitors to come in, but it still is you all's pleasure as far as going back to standard meetings and allowing the public in, and we would still expect and ask for social distancing and the protocols to be followed once they come in, but it's you all's pleasure if you all would like to continue. I know a couple issues keep occurring with the IT part of things. That don't mean that we're going to throw the towel in and quit working on those IT things. I'm not convinced that COVID is done running its course. And if we follow countries throughout the world, of course, we're due for a relapse. So just keep that in mind too. I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news, but we are. And if we follow those what happened around the world, then I'm afraid we will have a relapse sometime in the future. But all that being said, it's up to you all what you would like to do in the immediate future.
I would personally like to go back to having normal meetings myself.
I concur. I'd like to, continue working out our IT problem, because there are people that I'm sure that are interested in the meetings and so forth that, for one reason or another, not able to participate, to come to town hall and participate live. So I'd at least like to afford them the option of being able to follow us. So yeah, I'm glad you made that statement that we're not giving up. We're going to continue, trying to work out those bugs and live stream. But also, I'm with George. I'd like to see us open back up to what it was pre-pandemic as far as open meetings.
Mr. Mao?
I also agree, but just a question to Mr. Wyatt. We can continue to live stream. If something comes up like a glitch, then we can just still continue with our meeting, but now we just don't have the live stream. And we're in accordance with the law, am I correct?
Yes.
I'd like to see us go back to the old law, sir.
Ms. Harris?
I'm a social butterfly, I'm good, yes.
I would like to see us go back, but you did say we would still social distance. So how many citizens would you allow in the room?
And let me clarify, when I say social distance, I'm talking about our visitors in here. You all would resume your normal seats as you all did.
Okay.
In here, we would take that on a case-by-case basis. We would still try to keep our social distancing in here, with understanding those social protocols are in place. If we have a packed room, then again, as long as we're meeting the governor's orders as far as meetings go, then we would respectfully ask people to be conscientious of what type meeting we're having, and to please wait in the lobby and allow us to take shifts if they will. But as long as we're meeting the law, we would have a meeting per the law.
Okay.
Now, remember, we're 3 feet now.
No, that's just schools.
CDC has come up with 3, haven't they not?
That's just schools.
I thought they'd
I
come up
read
double for
that, I
everybody.
thought it was just schools that he moved from.
You might want to check on
3 to
that.
6.
CDC, I'm thinking, has changed
6 to
that to 3
3.
feet.
I will confirm that
Yeah.
before we start putting you all back that close.
Yeah, if you don't mind,
I
make
will.
sure capacity limits as well
Yes,
in the
sir.
room. And I think we're good there, but make sure within the capacity limits you meet whatever
Yes, sir, I
the
will.
distance is as well. And also, I still wouldn't give up on the mask, at least at this
no,
point.
Absolutely agree.
So just to clarify that.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anything else on our regular agenda items?
No, sir.
Mayor, do you want me to mention
Yeah, if you wanna, Gary's gonna talk a little bit about a couple of things, I guess, that the league,
I
most of
just
you
received
might have
this,
got.
And some of you may have received this from the League of Municipalities. The 2 bills in the legislature that the league is concerned about. One is eliminates single family zoning. Senate Bill 349, and the league has sent out talking points for you to talk with legislators. And the other is a bill that will decriminalize town ordinances, and that's Senate Bill 455. Troutman very rarely, as in most towns, very rarely uses the criminal penalties under ordinances, but they can. And if that's a concern, then that's something you'd also want to talk to legislators about.
Could I ask Mr. White to maybe draft a letter on these 2 bills, maybe working with Gary, and allow the council to sign those so we can send it directly to our legislators.
I will be happy to, as I already sent an email out to all of you all in pertaining to the one House
Sound.
bill and the Senate bill, and that's dead upon arrival, they assure me, but I will be happy to do another letter and follow up with that.
Okay? Any other business before we go to closed session? If not, I'll accept the motion to go into closed session pursuant to General Statute 143-318-11A5 to discuss acquisition of property, and pursuant to General Statute 143-318-11A6 to discuss personnel. Is there such a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
A second.
Motion is made, received the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
In opposition? Hearing none. Mr. Watt, who do we need in the room?
For property acquisition, this is town clerk and council.
Okay. All right, thank you all.